We will start in 2 minutes. We're giving a chance for people to join in. Okay, it's 5 minutes after the hour, so this is the unofficial SCHC interim meeting starting. Alexander is not with us, but he will arrive very soon, so I'm starting without him. Here is the usual note 12, so all the usual IETF precept apply. In particular, if you're aware of any IPR that is being discussed here but was not disclosed, please let us know or refrain from giving the details of the IPR. And if you're aware of any harassment, conduct, etc., please let the Ombuds team know. So there is the contact on this page. And you're supposed to be aware of the best practices which are listed there about copyright, code of conduct, etc. Moving on, we have a very short agenda today. So we have Laurent will be discussing the seed allocation strategies. Quite a number of slides there. So Laurent, you will have the end right after me. And since we don't have many subjects today, but still open discussions on terminology, we have 20 minutes at the end of the meeting to discuss terminologies. And I see that Mario is here, so that's very good. We'll be able to go on with this. And I'll remind where we were at the Madrid side meeting. So I have appended the slides of the Madrid side meeting on terminology at the end of this slide. Drafts, we have 2 new versions of the SCHC protocols numbers which have been published. And the latest one includes a discussion that Carles is interested in about UDP over 15.4. So since Carles is not, Carles is just arriving. So Carles, I was just discussing that we have the protocol number draft, and maybe you will have some words about it that basically Bob has published.
Hello, everyone. Yes, so in the, I think it was maybe not the last couple of previous versions already, Bob introduced some additional text in this draft, which we provided, me and Anna, because, yeah, in the what we call the SCHC law draft, which is trying to support SCHC compressed package over 15.4 networks, we have the need to support compressing UDP data units and have a SCHC stratum below UDP. So that's why, sorry, on top of UDP and also below, yeah. And yeah, that's the need why we are requesting UDP port for SCHC. And yeah, so that's this part. And then I guess there was also other inputs, other contributions also from Anna and perhaps from other authors. And yeah, so this document is now expanded with additional motivation.
Okay, Carles, thank you very much. Yes, and I have a slide or two from the side meeting in Madrid, where we discuss what happens when SCHC is within the stack, versus what happens when SCHC is actually in a daemon outside the stack. And that's why it could be that a single port is not necessarily enough for doing what you want to do here, and being able to dispatch SCHC inside the user domain on a different process. Anyway, continuing, we have the meeting in Montreal scheduled, and SCHC will happen on Tuesday. So that will be late in Europe and 5 p.m. local. And that will be in a room Agora. So I hope you'll find it when you're there. I will not be able to attend Montreal because I will be having surgery a few days before that. So I won't be in shape just to join in the middle of the night, I guess. But Alexander and Laurent will cover for me. And sorry for that in advance. Note on the side that the cutoff for drafts is on Monday 20th. So that's coming quickly. If you want to publish a new version of your drafts before Montreal, and now is a good time. And with this, I will give the ball to Laurent. Laurent, do you want to upload your slides, or do you want me to upload the slides?
I can try if I find your slide. See the location. Okay. Confirm. Okay, so do you hear me well first?
Perfect. Very good.
Okay. Perfect. So it's an old presentation, so I will not go in all the details. I've already done that in a previous interim meeting, but I think it's something that is strategic, and we need the agreement of the group to look at the strategy for seed allocation. So I just update some part, but just to go quickly to slides. So we have now our range that has been allocated. So where is it? It's on the bottom here. You have our range, so from 2,550, and we have 400 seeds that can be used to number all the item we have in the young data model. What I showed last time. So just one point that is important. It's when you are doing the coding of the structure inside a message. So it's here. So we are using deltas. We are using deltas to number all these items. So we have the basic SCHC number here, 200, 645. And then when we want to allocate, to go to one element, we just use deltas. And it's using CBOR structures. So when the number is low, the overhead is very limited. For example, before 23, we have a very limited overhead. So it's 1 byte is 1 byte. If we go after 23, 1 byte is coded on 2 bytes on CBOR. So our goal, for example, is to limit the size of that if we want to have something constrained. And if we look at the default allocation of seed value, you see that we have some deltas, for example, for the L2 word size that have plus 25, which means that we have to code it into 2 bytes. And we have something that is more a problem, is that, for example, rule ID is plus 33 and rule ID value is plus 34. And these elements are on all the rules. So it means that if we have this value, it will be 2 bytes for these values. So we make some measurement, and here we have a representation of a rule that is on 392 bytes. Now, the problem, as I say, is that here, because we are using the default way to allocate seeds, we have values that are more than 23. So what we have done is to do another allocation that is manually done, and we spread the seed on all the value we have. So for example, we have all the identity as put at the end. And so we have from the beginning of the module, which is 2,550, we had 307. And here we start to allocate identities. And then we go to, so we start also from 200 and 550. We had 23. And here we have a SCHC rule. Or a SCHC, yes, a SCHC rule. And then we have the SCHC countries. So this gives, so we have done an allocation, and for a single rule, we are saving 7 bytes, which is not that much, but it's 7 bytes that are not sent on the air. And if the rule is bigger, then it will be we will save some bytes. So I think the effort is good, because this way we just by manually allocate things, we have something that doesn't change anything in the process. It's just because we have a clever allocation. So here we have an example of this allocation that is given by on SSV files, and here we see all the module. And when you see column dots here, it means that these values are free and we can use them in the future, and we don't destroy the effectiveness of the module. So here we have some empty space where we can put revision. And here is, so what we have right now, we have RFC 9363 that defines the young data model for SCHC rules. So what we can have is some space to add new things. But so if I go back to this slide, if I see it here, so what we can do is to anticipate what we will have in the future and what is in the pipe for seed allocation. So one thing we can do is to make some revision of the 9363 young data model to include new things that has been produced by the group. So previously, I thought it will be easy to add extension of the SCHC data model, but in fact, I think it's complex regarding the INR rules. So right now, looking at the state of what we have, it's better to have revision of 9363, which will include these new things. And so we produce a new seed file with the mapping with the new things. So we have identities that are coming from 8424 BIS for OSCORE. We have IPv6, ICMPv6 that also produce some identity, and we have ComponHack that are defining these identities. And regarding information, we put fields that we have in the young data model. We have universal option that will obsolete the way we represent co-op options. We have management that is introduced RPCs, new RPCs, and we have ComponHack that introduce new element in the rule to carry parameters for ComponHack. So here is the things that we can put in the model, and since we have holes in the numberings, we can have something that is efficient. So my view is that we can produce right now seed files covering 9363, but the question remains, for example, we have here in gray co-op options that will be obsolete when we will have a universal option that will be produced. So do we need to lose this value in grays? Because it's something temporary. In the future, we will have something else. So do we allocate co-op option right now, or do we forget them? We don't put them in the seed file, and when universal options will be produced, then we have another more optimal solution. So that's something that we have to discuss. The other thing is that OSCORE is looking at an option, but in a more detailed way. So it will split the option in different fields. So these fields that are in RFC 80, defined in RFC 8424, should be included in this when the work on 8424 will be done. So my question is, what do we do right now? Do we forget to produce a seed file and we wait having a revision of 9363? Do we produce a seed file that is the same, that is directly based from 9363? Or do we forget about some value like co-op option and we produce a seed file that will cover everything except co-op options? I don't know if I am clear, but that's a question I have. So I think there is not a lot of people today, so maybe we have to ask again this question during the Montreal meeting. But so what is the strategy of the group regarding the way we articulate all the development we have on SCHC?
Laurent, I'm first in queue. Do we have an urgent need to claim those values that will be lost in the future, or can we? I mean, what's the cost of sitting on this till we have work published? And is there somebody asking for them, or is it just?
So what we can do is we can have a temporary. So for example, Javier is working on the SCHC management and is currently using this value. I don't know if other people are doing it, and it's something that we have to ask. Are you using? So right now we have no allocation. So I think nobody can use it because it has not been produced. But so we have to. I don't think it's quite urgent. I don't think a lot of people are using CoreConf with SCHC, but it's so we can wait. But maybe it's good to have a basic thing, and there is some space in IETF seed rules where we can allocate some temporary value for the time we have not published the other documents. But it's good. So it's important to see what is the status, for example, of universal option. I think it's still a personal draft and hasn't been adopted by the group. I'm not sure. I had to check. I forgot. But if we agree on universal option on the group, then it's quite easy to make a revision of that. Management maybe will take more time because we are working right now on RPCs, and we have only defined one RPC, but in the future we may have other RPCs, so maybe we have to wait a little bit more. But Copenhagen is okay. ICMPv6 is done, and I think 8424 is 88. Sorry, why I put 84? 8824 is also about to be finished. Marco is there, so he can confirm.
Laurent, the universal option was adopted, by the way.
Okay.
We have now the 00 published. So if you can press your work on it, I mean, it mostly depends on you now how fast the editors can progress this work.
I think it's quite. I don't. Maybe other people can say, but for me, it's almost finished. We have something that
0, 0. That's okay.
no, but the young data.
We can ask for comments on the mailing list.
Yeah, that's. I will say that it's finished because I don't receive any bad comments, so it's good.
Yeah. I mean, let's discuss that in Montreal and maybe have some a good session on that so we can progress it and make it faster.
Yes. So thank you very much, Laurent, for the presentation. So I think so. What Pascal said, it reflects a little bit like what's the urgency of. So there are three fundamental problems for me in not allocating seats for the co-op options that we have today. So there are four reasons. The first reason is that it is not they are not obsoleted. So if we do like a new RFC and we say, okay, we obsolete these options, then probably that's a question that we could ask, right? That seems like long time down the in the pipeline. In I don't know, 2 years, something like that. So the universal option is not here yet. So you can actually ask for and we can do an allocation. Early allocation, so you can actually allocate things for universal options even before it's actually getting to the RFC stage, right? So in any case, this means that like today we have an RFC that there is a data model, and that there are people that have actually probably developed things with that data model. Now, the fact that there are no SIDs doesn't mean that there is no code deployed. And the fact that anyone can write this without using the universal options. So going with the fact saying, okay, well, we're just not going to allocate seats. It's for me, it seems like a premature optimization for something. So if you want, you can allocate them bad seats, seats that make bit deltas or whatnot, but it's like
it's just identity, so we don't care about the delta. So it's they can be at any place, but it's just that it consumes 30 or 40 values just for things that we will not use in the future.
I mean, you don't know. Like it's maybe there are a lot of people that can use that. They don't want universal option.
Yeah, but if we do that, we create segmentation. We create ambiguity. So I don't think it's a good way to say you are an implementer and you can ever use a co-op option or a universal option, because if you allow both, then you will have the interoperability issue.
So I mean that's a question of implementers, right? If they can very well implement today co-op today as it is different today, and if tomorrow you say, okay, well, you need to have universal options, maybe you can have. I mean, I don't see why they can be. We can have rules that use, and one rule can use the current, and one rule can use universal options. And if you have, if you have a decompressor that supports both formats, it should be able to interoperate with the two.
Yeah, but you mean you need to add codes that will allow these things. So for me, it's so that's the question: do we need it? But we have to have a feedback of people that have been using co-op.
Well, for me, the point as it is today, it's like it creates too much of strange things, like why there is an RFC with a Yang model and some of the entities inside don't have a SID. And then you say, well, to save 30 something, like, I mean, for me, it's not shocking. We have like 500. So it doesn't 400. Okay. It doesn't shock me at all to waste 30. I mean, it could be used, right? So, I mean,
it's 10% of the range.
Yes, okay, but it's an RFC, right? It's not obsoleted. So I think when you start working on obsoleting it, and when we see that, okay, these things are obsoleted and we have an agreement, then, okay, I will be okay for not probably considering of not allocating seats. And before that, it's like, well, we are just throwing in the trash bin things that we've been working until now because something new maybe will be adopted better. I don't know. Like for me, it's
so
it's
in that case,
premature.
my strategy is more don't do allocation for 9363. Make a 9363 bis that include 8824 and universal options and Copenhagen because it's ready, maybe ICMPv6, and then we do the allocation on 9363 bis.
Okay, well, I don't agree with this because that will delay allocating seats for 2-3 years, or I don't know, something like this. Just because you consider some functionality to be obsolete, which I do not consider it to be obsolete anyway. So you are going to have the same discussion. Do we obsolete actually these co-op options in the Yang model? And that's another question. Like,
so no, it's normally it's something an agreement we reach with universal options.
To obsolete the current the current way we treat options.
Yeah,
I have not seen that really. I've seen it as an additional mechanism. I have not seen it clearly stated as it is today to say, okay, well, we obsolete what is done today, and it should not be done that. It should be done with universal option. So maybe it's me, but probably we should go get that to the mailing list and confirm.
Agree. Javier, no, you wanted to tell?
Yeah, just to say that actually we should check if something comes up during the proof of concept we're doing. Like maybe I see that some seed ends up being negative or so. I'm not sure if there's a problem with this. So we can check. I mean, it's doable. We just would just like to check, like if already we don't see weird stuff.
Okay. Well, I see Alex's point. I mean, as long as we don't obsolete the RFC, which needs those values, we cannot avoid the seed values either. Otherwise, we have an RFC with no seed. That would be.
But if we do that, we force all the implementation in the future to take in consideration this value.
Well, if you don't, then we have to say that universal option obsoletes the other compression or something, and that's a decision for the working group. But we can't just progress the draft without. Well, if we want to remove those values, we have to obsolete the other draft. Okay. No more question on this, Laurent. Are you done with your presentation? Is that where you wanted to go?
Yes, I want to have a discussion on the group on that.
Okay, and we are not that many, so if we don't have any more comment, I guess we will move on. Okay, let me share the intro slides again. Okay, so we discussed terminology at the side meeting in Madrid, and we basically presented what we had done at the main meeting without taking more discussions at the main meeting in Madrid. I just took the slides to present them rapidly, just to make sure we have the same memory of the status where we were. And then, since then, we have Mario and Quentin who came up to the mailing list and discussed the problems they had with the instance term in particular. And so, Mario, if you're there, we can also have a discussion on that. So I suppose we have like almost 30 minutes to discuss terminology. That's a good thing. So first thing is we did not really have a discussion, this definition of SCHC header as we were using it. And actually, we didn't have a word for something which is a bunch of bits that SCHC can decompress. So this undefined SCHC header plus payload, we needed a term for that. And my memory of the discussion is that basically we said there is this word SCHC datagram which could be used.
Yes, Pascal, yeah, just a question, because I remember that we had some, like, I cannot find them on my computer because I think I was actually doing the slideshow, but I think there were people that were taking notes. I'm not sure if anyone.
We have not published them. That's part of the problem. So I went to the minutes of the. Well, first the slides were updated during the meeting. That's one thing. But so I have that here, but I don't have the notes that people took effectively. So if people could share that on the mailing list just to resync everybody, that would be nice. I agree. And then we in the minutes of the main meeting, we came back on that, and so we presented where we were at the side meeting, because the side meeting was just a side meeting. The official meeting was the official IETF meeting. So that's 2 minutes from which I dug to find where we are, at least officially. So we have this SCHC header. At this point, we had the concept of SCHC header without really an official term in the architecture for it. And then we needed something to reflect all the bits that you can feed into a SCHC machine. And we seem to have the term SCHC datagram rather than SCHC packet, because SCHC operates also at layer 2 and upper layers, so it's not really a SCHC packet. Then we realized that there were really 2 headers. One that is elided in LoRa, for instance, which tells you which instance you're working on, for instance. And now in the current published version of the architecture, it was called the SCHC stratum header. And the discussion at the interim that was repeated at the main meeting leaned towards SCHC control header. Okay, that's the best memory I have and what I found in our traces. And we had something we called the SCHC payload, but it was not really a payload because there is still the rules and stuff like that, the rule ID and stuff. So now we call it the data header, meaning it's a SCHC header for the data that's being compressed, as opposed to the first SCHC header, which is to control the SCHC operation itself. So the SCHC control header gives you things about SCHC, whereas the SCHC data header gives you things about the packet that you're going to restore. So the rule ID and stuff. And now after that, there is really what we used to call the user payload. Now we seem to call it the payload only. And that is basically composed of the residue and then the bytes which would not have been compressed at all. So that's the best memory-based status I have of those words. Do we agree on that on this call? Does everybody have a different memory of that or different notes?
Actually, thank you very much, Pascal. Yes, we actually took the notes. My memory is correct. We took the notes during the IETF meeting, in the official meeting of the working group. So this is where we had actually pretty good discussions. Yes, I mean, these things were at least, as I recall, was the things that we discussed. Yes, and they are in the meetings.
That's what I did. The first slides I had from the side meeting and then the minutes of the official meeting. So that's basically our intention is to publish before the cutoff, before Monday, a new version of the architecture with the new terms updated. And then that's one of those points that Mario and Quentin kind of came up with or discussed on the mailing list, and for which we don't seem to have a very clear definition. Basically, the SCHC endpoint and this new term that we're introducing, which we call domain. So basically, we needed something to say, here is a bunch of nodes that can talk together. For instance, nodes in a LoRa network and the SCHC gateway or something. Nodes that can talk together in the same world with the same administration, kind of same rules, and we needed something, a word to note this set of nodes, to name this set of nodes. And we seemed to converge on the term domain, but then inside this term domain, it really depends on what you're talking about. Are you talking about nodes which are participating to the same instance, like actively talk to one another? And usually it's point-to-point, but it can be point to multi-point. It could even be multi-point to multi-point now with the new model that Carles has introduced for SCHC. And so for that, there is a suggestion of naming this group of nodes an instance domain. So the domain of nodes which are on the same instance could be usually two devices, like I said in LoRa, it's two devices. Then set of nodes for which a SCHC instance may be created, for instance, with a gateway. An example of that could be a LoRa network. And they would operate at the same level in the stratum, like not, for instance, at layer 2 for LoRa as opposed to in the application domain or something. So nodes which basically can talk to another, but at the same stratum level. Since you can have nested strata, and the nodes at a given stratum will not be the same for the same packet. So nodes which can talk to one another at a given stratum level. There was this idea of calling them stratum domain or something. And then nodes which are administered really by the same people, and they can administer different stratum domains because they can administer nodes which terminate layer 2, layer 3, and then nodes which terminate security at a number of layers, etc. Do we want a name for that? And suggestion was administrative domain, knowing that the most interesting piece of defining this is that we don't confuse what is administrative domain with the other domains. By having a name for them, people won't think that a stratum domain is the same thing as administrative domain, just because you can administer multiple strata and have a network where you administer strata 1, strata 2, strata 3. And then there was on the mailing list, not on the mailing list, on Zulip, I guess, the chat, there was somebody say, oh, by the way, there might be a need to identify the domain in the SCHC header. I would say now it's in the SCHC control header. Part of this data that is elided in LoRa and that goes in the SCHC control header, one of those data could be the domain ID. Okay. And then again, please interrupt me. Please, Alex, say something. Anyone say something? Yes. Because
yes, no, it's actually it's okay. So Eric says domain is overloaded at the IETF, so he would prefer area or zone. Yes.
Yeah, also I can do it on my own, right? But thank you for this, Alex. And I am he and not a she, right? And you say Eric, she said, not really mine. Anyway.
Oh, I said she. No, it's
I heard she. Whatever, I heard she, but that's okay.
I need to change my teeth.
Yeah, no problem. No, domain is pretty a sensitive thing. If you look about other areas like limited domain, it's pretty hot topic. So I'm not in favor. And it's more like, you know, OSPF areas and the like, where we talk about areas or zone, except for the administrative domain, which is well known. But stratum domain and instance domain, areas and zones seems good to me. But okay, we need to end up somewhere, right? We cannot go in circle and circle for the words for years, though.
Okay, I mean, I have nothing against area or something. I guess we, we need to write something in this document and then change it later, I guess, as we did earlier till we converge. So I'm happy to put area as opposed to domain. What do other people think in this call? Anyone?
I'm okay for area.
Okay,
So-
for area. So we would have 3 areas, or do you think that it's over-defining if we have instance, stratum, and administrative? And by the way, do we keep administrative domain since it's well known? But that's
Anna?
Pascal, or Alex, both or everybody, you are assuming that we agree that we are doing the multi-point instance?
the multi-point to multi-point, Anna, is the 1254 draft, where basically everybody can be listening on port blah, or listening, or basically listening to 6LoWPAN encoded packets where what's indicated is the compression is not 6LoWPAN anymore, it's SCHC. Right? That you have to receive a packet.
But you don't need a multi-point.
Oh, you mean the point to multi-point? That's the second one in this list that you don't agree.
No, I don't agree with multi-point. Point, multi-point, or multi-point, multi-point. I don't agree with that. Because how you are going to manage
the
okay, but you cannot manage your feedback. How you are going to manage?
Multi-point, I mean, that's written already in the architecture, I guess, at least in GitHub. The multi-point to multi-point is just what I was explaining. Is what you do in 15.4. It's basically
we are doing point to point
to anybody, compress it with SCHC, and you will understand IP, for instance. You can send a packet to IP address blah and then IP address blah, and you have not really established an instance at all. It's a stateless SCHC, right? You compress a 15.4 packet with SCHC, and that's multi-point to multi-point because you can talk to anybody in the network.
No, that's not true. We are only doing point to point because the instance is point to point to manage all the information between 2 endpoints. That's why I said I'm not agree with multi-point, but you can do multi-point if you want. But in SysLow, we are doing point to point.
How do you
So just one other example, because I think that this point to multi-point and multi-point, it's really important. It's actually the biggest deployment of SCHC. It's in DLMS. You have point to multi-point, and it's been deployed for thousands of devices already, if not tens of thousands.
So point to point and point to multi-point are stateful.
Yes.
Point to multi-point is directional, meaning there is a root and a hub and spokes, basically. And point to multi-point is stateless, meaning that you don't really have to establish anything, and it still works. Now, Anna, if you think that what you describe in 15.4 is point to point, which I don't necessarily agree, we have to discuss that and synchronize our understanding. But there is certainly an interesting, and I thought it was really what you're doing, an interesting aspect of having a stateless, quote unquote, well-known instance that everybody knows node has, and you don't have to establish anything between node A and node B. They can just throw packets which are SCHC compressed because they all understand this quote unquote default instance where you compress IP and
you to compress but not to fragment. So you cannot do fragmentation.
No, you can't. I mean, that's
how to manage your window, how you manage all the acknowledge you receive multi-point. You cannot do it. You don't know how to do it.
Agreed, but
so you can do it with NOAC. You can do it with NOAC.
Yes, but I mean that's another discussion, Alex. But my understanding is in 15.4 with SCHC we are not changing the fragmentation. We are using 6LoWPAN fragmentation and SCHC compression. Correct?
Yes, fully agree. And there is another use case. It's DLNS.
So
it was standardized, and there are actually certification tests and interoperability tests that show how it works. So
yes,
I think that we're going. Yes, we're discussing this topic like for 7th time, and we're going again, like it's things that have been deployed. So I don't understand why we're discussing again this point, really.
Well, there are 2 points, Alex. I mean, I think Anna was telling us that she doesn't think that SCHC is multi-point to multi-point, but the text that we are writing in the architecture describes it as multi-point to multi-point, because that was my understanding. So if we have a mismatch here, we have to solve it. Point to multi-point is also explained in the architecture. It's different operation than point to point, obviously. But yes, I mean, we are not discussing. I'm not discussing whether point to multi-point makes sense. I think it does, but I don't think it's a discussion now.
Okay. Thank you. I did not understand it. Thanks.
Well, because it wasn't clear, but I mean, really, my discussion with Anna was leaning around: is SCHC multi-point to multi-point? And I think it is. I think it's stateless, and a node can come up and participate without saying anything, being able to send and receive packets because there is no state associated. Okay.
I think Laurent has his hand up, but I'm not sure.
Yes, not for point to multi-point, so I don't want to reopen the debate on that. Just, I don't see really the difference between instant area and stratum area.
Oh, okay. The instance is really when you have an instance like 2 nodes. For instance, in the LoRa network, the instance domain is really the gateway and one device. And you have as many instance domains as devices. So the instance domain becomes useful when you have multi-point to multi-point for the most piece. It's also, in point to multi-points, it's also all the devices that this hub is, all the spokes that this hub is talking to. For point-to-point, it's like 2 nodes. It's not really interesting. Stratum domain, or stratum area now, is all the nodes with which you could create an instance. So it's in LoRa, it's all the LoRa devices in the same LoRa network, if you like. So this because they operate at the same stratum level.
Is it necessary to have this? Because
I don't know. I'm asking. I mean, really, that's the different groups that we can manipulate. And part of the questions we have here is: are we over-defining stuff, or is it useful?
For me, instance is better than, because stratum is more when you stack things over, but when you have look at the instance, it's really the physical thing that you have. So
yeah, the stratum domain, I've not seen that we really need it for now. I agree, but it's all the nodes that potentially can talk to you because they operate at the same stratum as you, or the nodes that you can compress a packet to, and they can decompress it if you start an instance with them.
okay,
or if you do MP to MP, then that's all the node inside the 15.4 network which can do SCHC.
Yeah, but if you have an instance domain that is MP to MP, as you say, so
yes,
they are in the instance domain and there is no stratum. So for me, they are equivalent.
Well, they would not be by the definition I have in mind, but I agree that stratum domain may be overkill. So we can call that instance area or instance set or instance whatever, and we keep administrative domain because it's well known.
For me, administrative domain is
domain we don't redefine it.
It's what you can where you can put SCHC. You are allowed to do it.
Say again, please.
So for me, it's where you can, like in BGP, where you have an autonomous system. It's where you can you have the root password and you can do what you want. So it's where you can run your. You can put SCHC on your devices.
It's not really when you can put. It's really when it's active. Right. I mean, in OSPF area, you're part of the area because you're talking over this area. It's not It's not because you configure OSPF on it. See,
there is Quentin. Yes, Quentin, that one.
Yeah, thank you. I was trying to kind of like understand the difference between what you call the instance domain or the instance area and the stratum area. And if we take a little toy example where you have a device that has that does compression between, for example, a device and a gateway, a LoRa gateway, and those compression at the application, for example, for the co-op part between the device and an application server. If we, I mean, how do we do that? Because if we say that we only have instance domain, how do we differentiate the fact that you have two different domains or two different areas in the same device? And I mean, the follow-up question is a stratum domain an instance domain in that case or not?
From what you say, for me, it's not a stratum area, it's just a stratum.
Yes, but so the stratum is like a header.
For me too, we don't need the domain.
Why? Because my understanding is that within a domain, you will want to share, for example, compression rules, and you want the same compression rules for everyone, for example, in the same domain. I mean, that's how I see it. And why do you not use the same compression rules for several different devices? For example, for the co-op part, you could deploy the same rules for all of the devices, all of the temperature devices, for example. I mean, I see a use case for that.
And that would be the stratum domain, basically all the nodes which can operate at this stratum and that are reachable. Whereas the instance domain refers for P2P and P2MP to one given instance, and one domain is two nodes or a set of nodes in the multicast. An instance domain for MP to MP is really all the nodes which do shake in this 15.4 network. And yes, to your point, Quentin, LoRa node would belong in your case to two stratum domains. One for the layer 2 and one for the application layer or the co-op. But it would be two pieces.
It's just a definition of stratum. It's not the definition of that's a stratum. You have
well, the domain is a set of nodes, Laurent. A stratum is not a set of nodes, right?
A stratum is yes, it's you have instances that are at certain level.
Like a header or something, but it's not a set of nodes. We have no definition for anything which is a set of nodes right now to identify the end nodes which can endpoints which can do this or that or that. We don't have names for groups, basically. That's what we're trying.
But I think it's over complex if I think.
Okay, we can refrain from defining that, but the need for it came up already, so it will come up again.
So just one thing, because we are like 3 minutes, like 2 minutes left in the meeting. So one point is, so Marion, she wrote in the chat that there is of course the SCHC minimal architecture draft that was submitted, and from what I understand, the point is to get some discussion points around the. Okay, so Eric says it could also be SCHC realm. Okay, nice. So good point. So what I wanted to say is that probably we need to go over the SCHC minimal architecture and look at the way things are defined there, and see that in a way, how can I say, see it like a questioning, like a way to test our understanding, our ideas about, okay, how and why we're naming things as such. And I think that so I really liked in this discussion today when we were talking about, okay, let's have this example and how would that work in this case. So like go more in the way of saying, hey, well, I like this, like this thing makes sense in this way because there is this case, this case, this case, there is this use, this use, this use. So move away from like, okay, this doesn't work, or I don't like this. Like, because we have like, I mean, we are converging, of course, but there are some questions still remaining. So probably on the next meeting, it would be good to go over this terminology, like this revision of this point of view from the SCHC minimal architecture document, and just see, okay, well, does something over there make more sense than something that we have here now, or are we okay with what we have today? Like, but in any case, like Pascal, yes, we need to. I mean, thank you very much for getting the discussion here now. So I think that we agreed on like we went over a lot of the points some of the points at least that we had from the site meeting, and we need to go over. And we can submit an updated version of the architecture for Monday. If that was clear. What do you think, Pascal?
Yeah, I mean, the problem I have, Alex, is that we need to publish a new architecture. You know, it's past it's obsolete already, and so we need to write something before Monday. So we can't wait for new meetings, etc., or even mailing list to publish something. We have only a few days in front of us.
Yeah, agreed. I'm saying like from what we had today, so you can take them hand and publish the new version, and then we continue that with like preparing for Montreal and after Montreal with the minimal architecture.
So do we agree that in the current architecture that we publish by next Monday, we introduce area? I mean, this is something that then there will be the discussion, right, on the mailing list, and Eric will explain why not domain, etc., as you know, Quentin and Eric are discussing on the chat. But I can refrain from having for defining the stratum area or something, because Laurent seems to indicate it's over complicated for now, but at least the instance area, I think, is important. I mean, all the nodes which participate, in particular, if MP to MP is correct, that's useful. So my suggestion is we define instance area and administrative domain. Administrative domain is kind of obvious. Maybe we don't even define it, we just use it, right? We use the term without defining it because everybody knows what an administrative domain is, if we like. But at least we define instance area or something.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay for me. Yes.
Okay. And then, yes, we're past the hour, but you'll find other slides where we have to define, you know, the bump in the stack, which is what 15.4 does, and versus you dispatch somewhere. Well, that's not even that. This one is okay. We don't have time to define those things, but there is even a third case. What happens in the stack is those two slides. In some cases, it's obvious that we're doing SCHC. The stack has only SCHC as the path. In another case, there is a dispatch type like 15.4, which says, oh, you're doing SCHC or you're not. And if you're doing SCHC, you go through SCHC, you come back where you were, and now you can continue.
Pascal, just one thing. We're out. I think so. It's a good point, but it's past the hour. So
yes, past the hour. So we need to discuss that later. And even to define what port numbers and etc. etc. So be aware we're done with this discussion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Sorry, Quentin. Let's go to the discussions in the okay, there. So Quentin says that something was discussed in the SCHC minimal. Okay. So thank you all. Have a nice.
Yes, please read the SCHC minimal architecture before the meeting in Montreal. I guess it will be very useful. So we can discuss on equal grounds.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone. And yes, for all of you,
Marco, huge thanks for taking the notes today.
Thanks, Marco.
Thanks.
And for all those who will be in Montreal, you're the lucky guys. I won't be with you, but enjoy your time. And yes, I will be watching the working group in the morning.
Thank you.
Good night.
Pascal, we'll be thinking about you, and we'll be thinking of you.